And I'm gonna bring a white lieutenant in here to show you how to run this unit.
Over my dead body, sir.
First movie we are talking about this month is called The 6888. Now, this is a movie that came out around Christmas 2024, so it's still kind of new. And I honestly will say I knew nothing about these troops. Like, I'd never heard of them. I knew nothing. So this is like me learning as I was watching this movie. And y'all, I don't really have a holiday drum roll when it's not really the holiday. So we're just going to give this a standard rating, but this movie gets a 10 out of 10. Oh my goodness. It was really good. For me, my favorite movies are when I get really emotional, when I feel things, whether it's anger, whether it's happiness, whether it's sad. And honestly, I felt all of them in this movie. Like, my eyes are still kind of red because I was legit like bawling my eyes out as this movie went on. There were some parts where this movie just brought so many emotions because I've been in situations similar to what these ladies were going through. And so I would have to like pause the movie and, like take a minute to like really savor what they were going through. And it just hit me and I'm like, okay. Like, I was getting in my feels in this movie, and then I would press play and start it back up. But y'all, this movie, what these women did is so amazing, and I'm so happy that their story is getting brought to light because I honestly did not know about them until I watched this movie. And now I have to go and research, so that's going to be another video because I think it's going to be the movie in the morning and then more information about the people from the movie in a later video, because I feel like I want to learn as much as I can about this because it's so amazing what these people did. They were treated terrible in the movie. They just weren't treated as equals, but they stayed the path, and it's just really so inspirational. And I'm about to start crying, but it's really inspirational. And honestly, this movie was really, really good. And it's also something that sometimes you just kind of need to go to the past to see what they went through, and it kind of makes where you are currently okay. Like, it was a really good movie. Usually when I do my reviews, I don't talk about the actors and actresses of the movie. I focus more on their characters just because I try to focus on the characters of the movie and not actually the people, just because I feel like it's hard to go and act in something, and so I don't like to criticize people or really talk about them. But in this movie, I'm gonna say the actresses, the actors, they were amazing. I was very invested in the story, and it was honestly just seeing what they were going through and how they overcame it, and just the strength that they had to stand tall and just keep on pushing through even though everything was stacked against them. Like, it's stories like this that give me, it's just the inspiration you need, because you can be in a low point and then you watch a movie like this and you're like, okay, if they made it through that, I can make it through what I'm going through right now. And so that's kind of just something I think as a Black woman, I continue to think as I go through life. When I do anything, I just kind of think with my ancestors. I'm like, they went through so much for me to be where I'm at right now. And so I just try to make the best of it and just keep on pushing forward. And that's honestly what this movie is. There's this one scene that I really had to pause it because I was going off on my TV because the guy was making me mad. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, there's this scene where there's this whole general. He's terrible. Like, he's basically a racist. He is just not happy that Black women were sent to handle this male issue. And so he sends this chaplain, and this chaplain just happens to arrive on a night where the 6888 troops were assigned to host the other like Black troopsmen. So they were like having a party going. The chaplain arrives, and then it jumps to the next day where he has a sermon. And the whole sermon, he's talking about how Black women are evil, how they're not meant to do anything, how even God thinks, like, he's just degrading them in this message that's supposed to be about the Bible, supposed to be about God and everything. And he's just degrading them, and he starts attacking Kerry Washington's character and saying how she's evil. And it's a very powerful scene, because after that, like, she's just sitting and taking it, because as a Black woman back in the day, you couldn't really, like, you could stand up for yourself, but that also got you in more trouble. And Kerry Washington's character would do stuff through the course of her career just to like, no, we're not going to be treated like that. Like, she would drink at White's Only Fountain. She would go and do all this stuff. And so after that sermon, she kicks the chaplain out. She was like, I don't care that the general invited you here to come and like teach. No, you're gone. You were not going to be talking to my troops. You're not going to be talking to me about that. And that was just so powerful. And she kicked him out, and he leaves and he's mad. And then the general comes later, and he's like basically doing an inspection of the troops and their facilities and stuff. And being that this was in the 1940s, World War II, the Black women were given like the worst things. They were given like a rundown school to stay in. So they fixed it up. They like did it. They did all their hard work together to make it livable, because it was not. And so the general he has issues with everything. They're on like 24-hour shifts at the moment. The 6888 are on shifts, 24-hour shifts, to get this mail done. So when they're not working, they're sleeping. And so the general comes and he's mad that all the troops aren't there to greet him because some are on the night shift and they're sleeping. So they can try to get this millions of mail pieces sorted, shipped out because it's been backlogged for a while and none of the troops were getting their mail. And so the general comes and he's basically talking about like, you've done nothing in this time I've given you. Like they gave him 6 months to sort over 1 million pieces of mail that like had rodents, like it was a hot mess situation, and they made the best of it. And so the general comes and he's like, you've done nothing in this time that I've given, in the 3 months that you've been here, you've done nothing. And so he's like, I'm gonna go get a white guy to come supervise your troops because you're not doing good. He says this to Kerry Washington's character. And that's when she has her breaking part. She's like, no, over my dead body you will. And that scene was powerful in itself. Like I honestly had to pause my TV and I just had to like let it soak in, like, no, you will not, over my dead body. And then she was like, goes off and she goes off on all the disadvantages they've been given in this army. And so she's like, we had 2 soldiers die. They weren't given a funeral. Like, you refused. So they're like, they weren't given a funeral. And then she's like, our living conditions are terrible. The mail, you expected us to sort millions of pieces of mail. You barely gave us any time. You've given us disadvantage after disadvantage this whole time. So she goes off on him. And so then he leaves. He's like, you were not going to talk to me like that. So then Kerry Washington's character leaves and she's, I'm going to get court-martialed. I've been telling my girls to not do this, to stay strong and not let them goat you into saying something. And there's a scene where the troops are refusing to work after this. So Kerry Washington goes back. She's like, get back to work. And so she has to go down there. And then as soon as she gets down there, they all clap because it's honestly the first time that anyone has stood up for them and done what's right. And, you know, she put Kerry Washington's character put her whole career on the line for these women. She's like, you're not going to treat my troops like that. Just really hit you with all the emotions because you really got to see what they went through. And honestly, if they hadn't gone through that, we wouldn't be where we are today. Even if you are not a Black person or a minority in any way, what these ladies did, it benefited your ancestors, your family members as well. So what they did affected everyone because not only was no one getting mail, like white soldiers weren't getting it. The morale was low because they weren't hearing from home. The people at home weren't hearing from the soldiers. And these ladies are like, okay, we're going to fix this. And they fixed it. They were able to fix the backlog in 90 days. Like they were given 6 months. They did it in 90 days. And it's just, honestly, I feel really inspired. And movies like this just kind of remind me of what people went through. So I could be where I'm at today. And I mean, the world's not perfect in any way. There's still so many situations that need to get better, but we are better than where we were. But we just have to keep on moving forward. And it's always just a reminder of what my past, and while it may not have happened to me specifically, it was my race and they had to experience it for the generation today. And so that just is really deep to me and it means a lot. So we're going to do a lot more of these movies, and I'll do another video that will talk more about these ladies because I had to do my research because I hadn't really heard of them. And now I want to learn more about them too because it's history, and I'm just so glad that their story was told in a movie version that was so good. And I think Tyler Perry had something to do with this as well. He may have produced it. He killed it. Just all the acting, everyone, the story, y'all did really good. I just feel really full right now, and my heart is full, and it was really good. There is like a love angle in this movie, but it's not the big focus. It's really about the history that these women did and how they just stayed strong. And there's this whole scene when the women are getting trained, and Kerry Washington is talking about how you hold yourself. She's like, your shoulders are straight, your head's up, like you need to look like you belong here. You need to look strong. You need to look confident. And that's really like a life lesson. Like as I was watching, I was like, okay, shoulders up. Like I was doing it as they were in the movie too. And overall, this is just very inspiring, and I just really enjoy this movie. If you have not seen 6888, you definitely need to watch it. Watch it this month. It's Black History Month, and honestly, Black history affects everyone, and so it's not just for Black people, it's for everyone to enjoy, because honestly, the situation affected everyone, and it's about time that their stories were heard, because a lot of times we don't hear about these people. And also another thing, while I was watching this movie, as I've gotten older, I don't just like to watch the main people, I like to watch the background people as well. So there was this whole scene where Kerry Washington's character goes to the party that has all the Black enlisted and the female enlisted people, and basically she doesn't want to stay there because they're all her subordinates, and her like second in line is like, no, look over there, there's some people your rank. And so she looks, there's like 3 guys, and the background characters were killing it for those 3 guys. Like there's one guy where she sees him, like he's like, come over here, and he's like mouthing it so well, and he's like, yeah, come over. Like it's so expressive, and it was just really entertaining. And honestly, yeah, this movie, you just really got all the emotions. I was happy, I was sad, I was mad, I was just very invested, and it just really affected me watching this movie, because if they didn't go through what they went through, my life wouldn't be where is today. And so I just really like watching these movies to give homage to what my ancestors, what older generations of people, of Black people had to go through. Like, I mean, it's still not 100%. I've experienced some of the stuff that was actually in this movie too, which made it even more relatable. And so it was just watching it, and yeah, so you should definitely watch it. Let me know what you think if you've seen this, and hopefully it related to you as much as it related to me. Okay, I'll see y'all soon.
This has been another episode of Real Talk with Noelle.